G'day guys, Seb Webb here from Webb Performance. Today we're going to go through an acceleration session in gym at Nexus in Adelaide, my home. We're going to be going through some bodyweight sprints, some resistance sprints with the sled, and also some plyometrics at the end as well. To start off today's session, I'm going to go through my movement prep and also my knee tendinopathy rehab stuff as well, because I've been neglecting my knee for too long and trying to push through it too much. Plus, I'm feeling a bit sore and sorry for myself from running on the weekend for the boys at Woodville South. I covered 10.4K, but again, it's probably not that impressive considering it was over a space of 2 hours, very stop and start, but obviously probably not as conditioned as I used to be, so I'm going to get a bit more movement prep in to start with. Just getting some light skips in, a lot of mobility drills, plus my isometrics for my knee rehab as well. Always like to start my sessions off with a little bit of skipping at the start, very light intensity paired with a bit of mobility as well. Again, a lot of people aren't using that much mobility drills within their trainings at all. They think you should be quite primed and prep ready to roll, and sometimes the mobility stuff can actually reduce the forces due to simply stretching the muscle and kind of igniting a slower stimulus. But in saying all that as well, I still think, especially for team-based athletes who are in the peak season periods such as finals and whatnot. So I'm going to start with some light skipping here paired with some mobility drills as well. Very general, and we're going to do this for about 3 to 5 minutes, just depending how I feel. And some people and some coaches don't really like to use a lot of mobility work within their trainings anymore. They just want to get the most out of their central nervous system, brain firing out stimulus to the body by getting the high forces up early. But I think still just getting the body prepared and making the athlete feel good where it's appropriate is still really beneficial. And for me, as I said before, I'm feeling quite sore and sorry for myself. So just doing a little bit of light skipping, just try and get some rhythm and get the heart rate up a little bit. And pair that with a bit of mobility as well. I'm going to make myself feel nice and fresh for the session. So I like to start off with really some simple skipping, as I said, and getting some mobility in. So I'll probably just do my nice, light, easy skips. Change it up a little bit. It's kind of like doing plyometrics, very light intensity for a couple minutes prior to getting everything else moving. As you can see here, very light, focusing on rhythm as well. Just getting my body nice and warm, trying to fire it up a bit. As I said, I'm feeling sore and sorry for myself. Back's a little bit jammed up from the weekend, same with this, everything on the backside of my body, hammies, calves, etc. So just kind of warming up how my body feels like it needs today. So as I said, lower back is feeling a little bit worse for wear. Probably not a great thing to hear from your strength and conditioning coach, but don't want to lie to people as well. Oh, these strings are super tight. I hope running all those messages for the boys on the weekend are worth it, because I'm not feeling fresh. I tried to back up a squat session yesterday after my run, and as I said, I'm not that conditioned at the minute compared to what I used to be. I'm probably just pretending to work too much, and I definitely felt it. I couldn't actually really complete the session. So I'm going to take a little bit more time today, just prepping up a little bit. As I said, I was going to get some patellar tendinopathy prep in as well. So I'm actually doing overcoming isometric now because I've got the stack at the max weight, but I'm doing it at a tessie where you can argue that it's still more yielding as well. It's just that I simply can't lift the weight in this position right now in this extension, but I'm pushing at about, arguably right now, only 6 out of 10, but around that 7 to 8 out of 10 mark for about 30 seconds. Doing anywhere for 3 to 5 sets of this, both sides, just to get some nice blood flow and try and remodel that tendon as well. It's probably going to take me anywhere from 6 to 12 months to try and really get this knee tendon back in place. As I said, I just neglected it over time and try to continue doing lots of ballistic, explosive and really intense exercises, try to keep squatting through with pain as well, but just getting that load back in and just integrating it after my movement prep as well kind of can act as a little bit of a primer as well. Some can argue that, but I like doing it before getting my speed drills just to get the nervous system firing. Just going to get my first lot of movement series in now for my speed drill. So I'm going to go for a bit more of that pogo type style. So I'm going to go a light scissor bound, really small, going for a bit of a double tap as well, but it's to be nice and light off my feet just to really get those tendons firing after doing my knee rehab. So just here, kind of stole this type of approach from Coach Geordie Taylor out of Sydney. He likes to go through a series of movements, starting with your more pogos and your bouncing type activities such as that scissor bound right there. We go into some split pogos, going forward, still relatively light intensity, but I'm just aiming to be quick off the ground. Covering just over 10 meters per drill right here. This drill I found off a strength and conditioning coach in America, Zach Duchan, and I really like his approach with his methodologies is that he likes to be quite rhythmic and use different traveling skills such as this one here to get his athletes to be quite coordinated in various planes of movement, so different directions, different positions. So I call this just a double shuffle to a pop, I guess, going forward. So you start with one leg on the ground, you just really switch. And I'm still going quite passive as well, but making sure I really get that switch going. Now I'm just going to get into some more switch movements and some body awareness movements. This is just a down overhead hip hike. Again, took this one from Geordie Taylor, but it's really teaching an athlete how to be quite aware of their pelvis control in space without trying to go too far down that rabbit hole to complex things, but it's actually quite a challenging movement. So you come up here, you want to lean to the side, and I'm getting a little bit better with this, but this is something I needed to work on, as you can see here myself, to try and not dump so much with my hips, to be nice and strong and get the correct positionings as I run ahead. So I don't want to be slapping the ground behind the back and flick my feet up. I want to make sure I hit that ground well, my hips stay nice and stable throughout the run, which this drill does. It doesn't need to be in your program all year round, but I think if you're finding yourself a little bit heavier and feel like you're flicking your feet back a little bit, it's a great alternative just to put it into your program, just to teach that body awareness. There's also again, this is not a max velocity speed, it's an acceleration speed, but I'm just reinforcing that cycle pattern that you'll experience at top speed with this banded wall cycle here. As I said, I really want to stop trying to flick my feet as I run. I want to be able to get off the ground, make that figure four nice and strong as I'm trying to replicate here. So when I'm actually at top speed, I can spend less time on the ground and be as effective as possible, because two key things I've been taught very early with speed is that you want to increase your stride length and reduce your ground contact time. And if you see the world's best sprinters, they have extremely long strides. I believe Usain Bolt's longest stride was like 2.7 something meters in length, which is just insane. We all know he's the absolute best, but if we can get that understanding, especially for team sports such as Aussie rules, your rugby codes, soccer, that have the ability to actually hit top speed, it will give them good context to how much ground you can cover when you're running that fast. So these are just a great exercise to pair up with. Now I'm going to start getting into my aggressive switch drills. So I just worked on getting some movement prep in, knee rehab, also some hip awareness exercises and some cycle exercises. So let's see how well I'm feeling to get my switch assist and see if I'm hitting those positions we want. I'm going to start with a nice A skip. Felt okay. Probably shuffling a little bit so I can be a little bit quicker off that ground. Just remember trying to get that nice quick ground contact time going forward. I'm going to go to one of my favourite exercises being the triple A switch. I like this one because especially for team athletes as well, just teaching yourself to really coordinate your body at relatively quick speeds but still sub-maximal can just be so beneficial just to make sure their movement patterns are good in sports. As you know, it's going to be chaotic. They're not going to be thinking about how they run, so develop as much as you can in these environments, constrict as much as you can within reason, and let's just see what the movement outcomes can be. Now, before I do my last sort of bounding of my prep, I'm actually going to measure my fatigue on the Hawken Dynamics force plates here through just a counter movement jump. Just more your standardised vertical jump that you do on force plates, force decks, whatever you may use without a vertec where you reach. Really easy way to see how fatigued you are. If numbers are quite simple, I accidentally just stopped recording what I was saying before, but what I was saying is a really easy way to see how fresh or fatigued you are. Traffic light systems on the Hawken Dynamics system. So I just jumped 50 before, which is just a little bit above my average recently, which I'm actually quite pumped about. Let's just see how I go again. Within 5 or 10% either way of your average jump, that's quite good. I am a little bit potentiated as well, so just a bit more fired up. Have put that as a tag in there so I'm not cheating on myself, but I'll do one more jump, see how I go. Oh, I felt like a bit more left dominant that side than I was. Let's see. 50 again, I'm happy with that, but I was definitely a bit more dominant on that left side coming up when I jumped, and I landed a bit more heavy on the right, as well. But all pretty good. So I'm just going to do some acceleration bounce. So I'm going to be leaning forward a little bit, simulating that positive angle, you could say, slightly 45 degrees if I'm trying to be technical, but got this one off Blaine McDonald from America. He's super athlete, super great coach as well. Been learning a lot of him with his content lately. So I'm just going to lean forward a little bit for about 10 or so meters, try and get as least amount of steps as I can, hitting the ground nice and fast, long stride length. So leaning forward. Probably turned into a bit of a straight leg bound there again. So I'll do one more because you want to stimulate a bit more of an acceleration sprint with this one. Leaning a bit more forward, driving that knee up a little bit higher than I did towards the end. I'll try to go for too much distance where instead of actually executing the action, I'll take a bit more of a run up step into it. So today's acceleration session, I'm going to do 2 10-meter sprints before 5-meter sled sprints at 55% body weight on the sled. Got this one again from Blaine McDonald from overseas, America, and currently training out of Sweden. But we're going to do some body weight sprints just to warm up with, shorten the distance for the sled just due to the nature of the track, get a little bit heavier load in to really force myself to accelerate and drive as hard as I can out of it. For this as well, I'm purposely going to be actually kind of falling into my front leg a little bit more because from my tendencies of being a team sport player, I have the tendency, as I said, to actually try and lean back on my leg, then take off instead of just actually accelerating out. And just doing this little technique, especially for I see my team athletes as well, it actually helps them learn to just accelerate from that front leg. And in the acceleration session as well, I want to be able just to take off and actually drive and get that good knee extension by pushing my whole body through. So that's what I'm going to do here. And my aim is just to stay at a nice positive angle the whole way for that 10-meter sprint. Oh. So I've done my 2 bodyweight sprints and I've actually done my first rep of weighted sprints, but silly me didn't press record. I felt like in those unresisted or bodyweight sprints, I was a little bit hunched, trying to actually force that nice positive angle going out of the blocks essentially too much, where that's where I tend to round my back a little bit. So it's just being a little bit more patient with that, just potentially even slowing it down a little bit to actually reinforce that good running technique. And the perfect things with sleds is that forces you to accelerate and drive for longer. That's why it slows you down. I've actually got relatively heavy weight on here. I'm at 55% of my body weight, so I've got 42 kilos on the sled. I'm just going from 0 to 5 meters and just deliberately slowing my first step down because I really want to learn to take off that front leg so I don't have to rock back, lose momentum and go. As I said, I'm going to hinge over like I would kind of an RDL. Then from here, I'm going to deliberately fall into it. And as I go, as I feel like I'm about to fall and this foot's coming through, I'm going to actually punch the glass with my knee and just keep continuing that momentum on the way through. So if I start here, take a deep breath, fall into it a bit, then punch. And then that run I've seen, I was probably overemphasizing that forward strike position, probably came up a bit too upright, but I'm not going to overcomplicate it today. I'm going to just keep telling myself, just fall into it a little bit and just really break that glass wall in front of me, drive out as hard as I can, get some good reps in. I've got 4 to go. I'm gonna stick to the same side. Usually I tell team athletes just to swap over a little bit, but since I'm not playing sport anymore, I'm just gonna stick to this side, get the most out of my sprinting. Just gonna fall into it, punch and drive out as hard as I can. One thing I bang on all the time about is rest intervals in between sprints, and I still think team sport athletes don't have it in their head that they need to get quality rest. We're going to do more than minimum requirements. You won't see us do sprint volumes in a team-based sport environment compared to an actual track environment for athletics. We need to be making sure we get the most out of our speed sessions and the quality of it as well. You only need 100 minimum meters really, ideally a little bit more, but only 100 meters minimum of either acceleration or top speed work within a session. And ASCA's rule of thumb is 30 seconds per rest, minimum per 10 meters sprinted. Anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. I like to push it to the longer side of the rest intervals just so we can get more quality out of it. And even right now, I'm only sprinting 5 meters, but with a heavier load on me, I'm probably resting between 75 to 90 seconds just to make sure each rep is high quality. And as you can hear here, I'm a little bit puffed out. Probably need a bit more conditioning work, but I want to get the most out of each sprint. So therefore, I'm making sure I take the rest, because you wouldn't just go from an absolute max effort back squat or heavy lift in the gym, then try and repeat it again straight away. You would make sure you rest up. And the exact same concept of sprinting, because we feel fresh and you need to feel fresh as well. You want to be feeling as good as possible. As I said, that's why I did my counter movement jump earlier, because I want to make sure I can actually hit good speeds with good intensity. Say if I was a little bit down, I'll just put a little bit less on the sled there. Still do the sled type work, but I'll put a little bit less sled on there because my body's not going to be able to tolerate as much. Oh, I'm getting tired. Jesus. Thought I'd get another angle of my 5-minute acceleration. Definitely probably feeling a little bit fatigued. CMJ still seemed good, but definitely not 100% fresh. So not feeling as quick as I could today, but I'm still getting good intensity from the session. Probably could be a little bit better at these positions, but that's what the sled's here for. I'm going to do my last 5-minute sprint with the sled now. We can see from a different angle if I actually am hitting those positions I wanted earlier. So here we go. Definitely wanted to take off with the back foot a little bit then. Some longer acceleration sprints in now, 20 meters. Again, very similar to what Blaine McDonald will do. You can't see the end of this. I'm going to get 3 sprints in, probably rest around that 2-minute mark. Again, on the longer side of the ASCA models, 30 seconds to 60 seconds rest per 10 meters sprinted, but I want quality again within the session. So let's see how well I go after having 55% of my body weight of the sled for over 5 meters to reinforcing those patterns. Try not to hunch forward like I did before, but if we're here and see how quick we can run. For some reason then towards the end, I think I actually started okay. As I said, probably not looking the most ideal today, but I actually started to come up quite quick towards that 15 to 16 minute mark where it's only 20 meters. I think just the constriction of the space probably made me decelerate or slow down a little bit quicker than I need to, but I should actually be holding pretty much that nice angle position to 35, 40 meters. So not too sure why I came up, but this set there's going to be a focus for me is to stay nice and angled because I don't want people coming up too quick. In sport, again, it's going to be quite different. You're not going to just be, I need to hold this perfect position for 10 to 20 meters. It's like you accelerate for as long as you need, or if you actually have the opportunity in your bigger field sports to have your max speed, that's what we're going to do. But for this, I'm going to just hold that position for a little bit longer and see how we go and see what it looks like from the back as well. That's why I bloody decelerate hard. Got one more of these, then I'm going to go some nice easy plyos just because my goal this month is actually put on some size. Oh, I pulled up. That was terrible. I definitely pulled up a metre or two short of our last sprint. I believe because it is a bit of a smaller gym and I'm running pretty much the max capacity could for any type of sprint work, and I've never done this distance in this gym before. I think it probably played a bit of a psychological effect. So probably not the greatest speed session ever, but at least the acceleration sled would have got me a lot of benefit from that and the intensity. Now for my plyometrics, because I just love using my systems the most, I'm actually going to do a counter movement rebound jump. So counter movement jump, as we said earlier, when I did my readiness score, you can say, we're gonna jump up as high as we can with hands on hips and as fast as I can as well, and see how quickly I can get off the ground, how high I can jump, and measure my reactive strength index, which is the ability to produce as much force as you can quickly. Really good for seeing like how well you can translate everything from the gym to on field as well from just a numbers perspective. So have a bit of a delay in my count. We'll see how it go. Oh, that didn't feel too good. Let's see. So the first one, probably not as high as my CMJ. 40, no, that's terrible. I need to jump higher than that. And then my second jump was 37, so it's within 10%. Ideally, it's a little bit less than that. 2.46, so I wasn't quick enough off the ground as well. So I'll have a little bit of a breather. I'll do that one again. Not your traditional top plyo work, but while I've got the force plates here as well, we can just see the quality you can get within each jump. Like to also just do a lot of hurdle work, stick and landings as well. Next week, I'll be just primarily going to max velocity for my sprinting. Not gonna do too much acceleration work. I'm just gonna get in the minimal amount for max acceleration, only anywhere between 100 to 150 meters per session. The priority for me in the next 6 to 8 weeks is actually to try and develop as much strength as possible, probably even more, looking around that 12-week mark. Actually put on a couple kilos of mass as well, just get a bit more tissue tolerance, get those muscles bigger as well, and start to build my strength back up, because towards the end of last year, which is also a component of my knee tendinopathy, I definitely overtrained too much when I was getting lack of sleep during just the really busy periods for strength and conditioning coaches in Australia and just around the world, that pre-season period. Trying to push through too much and not listening to my body enough, because I was only averaging 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, where I average between 6 to 7 now. And it's still not enough sleep, but that's just the nature of the industry we're in as well. But I definitely want to make sure athletes out there prioritise their sleep much more than I did, where I kept trying to push through as hard as I can. I was doing a lot more running. I just didn't listen to the advice I'd give others, where I just threw myself in the deep end. Unfortunately, I just got some chronic injuries. I wasn't able to back squat because my hips and back was just so tight and seized up. So I've only just started that again. I only just hit 100 kilos again. So this next month is going to be really interesting to see how well I can balance everything out. That's why the session here today is not too intense. I'm just trying to bring it back a little bit, work on a little bit of form, especially with those weight accelerations as well. All right, see how we go. Oh, that was shocking. First jump, load for me please. 46, a better jump, but the second one didn't feel good at all. Let's see the jump height. Where was it? 35, oh, that's shocking. And I was slower off the ground too, so this is a good sign of the fatigue's kicking in. I'm only gonna do one more. I'm bloody running around like a mad chook. I've got a session within the next 10 minutes, so I'm gonna do one more. So that's the session today, very much acceleration dominant, took up 40 minutes of my time earlier within the prep. And then not traditional plyometrics, I just want to see how quick I was off the ground today. Not really following, I just want to see how quick I was off the ground today with the counter movement rebound, which I wasn't that quick as well. I want to be making sure I can repeat each jump height as well. So plyometrics is going to be a big thing for me, integrated smartly throughout my week. Max velocity sprinting is probably naturally going to help that, but I think actually integrating some good lower level plyometrics each day within my training again is going to be key. I'm definitely a little bit heavier than I have been previously, probably about 2 or 3 kilos heavier, so that could be a factor in it as well, but I've definitely got to make sure I can repeat that effort. So after this 12-week block where it's primarily just strength and lower level conditioning as well, so more that aerobic conditioning on the weekend, I'll start to intensify the sprint work again, and we'll see how we go. Thank you for watching. Oh, that didn't feel too good. Oh, that was shocking. Oh, my God. I still went forward heaps. Shocking. So that's the session today. Very much acceleration dominant. Took up 40 minutes of my time earlier within the prep. And then not traditional plyometrics. I just want to see how quick I was off the ground today. Not really